Robert ShedLog for Sunday the 18th of October 2020. Hello, I'm Robert and welcome to my shed. I'm looking this week again at the TayTools Wheel Marking Gauge, which I bought myself with my own money. Nobody's sponsoring me in any way, so it's just an honest review. I haven't used it for a little bit. The first one I did was I just got it and I didn't really know how to use it properly, so I was a bit premature in doing a video on it. This one should be a bit better, hopefully. So, the blade has several parts, the tool has several parts. You have the cutting blade at the top here, which has a slight bevel on it. It pulls, as you run, pulls it. As you cut this sideways, because of this bevel here, you tend to pull the blade that way. You have this handle, which has this fence or stop on the end, so that as the blade tries to pull this way, the theory is it pulls the whole tool and this will hit the work. And these screws hold the handle onto the shaft so that when it tries to pull, it can't, and you end up with a very straight line, provided the handles are down properly. Biggest problem I've had with this tool is that if you put it finger tight but not quite firmly down on both screws, then you can end up with about a millimetre of movement over about half a metre of cutting, and that's not great. But this is also a fine adjustment tool, so you can undo this one. In theory, this one is enough to hold it, but it really isn't. When you undo that one, you can unscrew this, and you end up with this all eventually unscrews apart, but the idea is that you can move it up and down in relatively small increments by turning it. So if you turn it, shouldn't probably measure it, if you turn it half a turn, like this, then it will move along by about a millimetre, or maybe a 1/16 of an inch. I can't get an exact reading off of this, so the calipers aren't here. But then again, you have to lock it down. And the thing I still don't understand, is that this screw locks against this nylon screw here at the back. And that, even when you tighten it up, that's still quite wobbly and loose. This end won't move because that's screwed down. This end won't move because that's screwed down. But frankly, I don't trust it. So what I'm going to do is I've got a piece of scrap wood here that I've been practicing planing on. I'm just going to make a mark about half an inch to avoid that big horrible knot that I can't mark. And I'm just going to see, I'm going to lock everything down to get the best possible chance. Again, you get a tiny bit of movement even when it feels tight, so I'd rather have something that I lock with a screwdriver, to be honest, because it just doesn't feel like finger locking is good enough for this. Let's get its best chance. I've got, what have I got? 3/4 of an inch, 19mm, just roughly. And I'm going to mark all the way down this piece of wood on both sides. I've no idea what kind of wood this is, it's just a piece of scrap I've lying around. I think it's probably a hardwood, or at least it's not a pine. Go down both sides and around, and we'll see if we end up where we started. And straight off, it makes a good connection to the fence, makes a good connection to the wood, so that's good. If you do hit a tough bit, you can end up rolling the blade. It's reasonably easy to move with. And I can sort of do it holding it up in the air, so just a bit slower. No problem at all with end grain. This one actually feels like it's going quite well. As soon as you try and report a problem on camera, it just works. So. And that's absolutely back where it started. So you can use it to do good work. I've had a couple of problems with it. And I can't also say why. Again, that's very tight. If I put it what I think should be right, finger tight. That is now finger tight, I would say. It's going to go around the end grain. Do another one. Okay, that's not straight, but it is. It's not straight there, but that line. You can just about see it, but it is parallel to this line, which is what we're trying to do here. We're not just parallel to the reference surface. And again, it's hit the same line, so again, I can't get it to do on camera the things I've had problems with. They reckon you can adjust it one-handed, and you sort of can, but I locked it down. Yeah, I wouldn't trust it without getting both hands on to lock it down. I'm going to try it with the finally just extend it a little bit, just so that it's only really this screw that's locking the thing down, and move the whole thing along. I'm just going to see if that does the same. The other thing I have to say about this is that you do need a screwdriver to change the blade. And those are relatively expensive. And it's doing exactly the same thing it did before. It's absolutely... Oh no! No, that's not right. Is it? That's almost imperceptible. I'm just going to show up on camera. In focus. Just at the top there, I just put that line. I can come on focus. No, it's not going to focus. I might put a still on it afterwards, but there is just a little bit of a double line there. I think actually that was me. That was me not getting enough pressure on the flat when I started, and it's at a slight angle. It's not the tool's fault. That's my fault. So yeah, I have had problems with it, but those problems I think are user error. I've just done that. The only reason it slips is if these aren't tight enough. So what I would say is it's a very good value for money tool. You can get a better tool by spending more, but this is usable provided you keep these two nuts absolutely tight. The fine adjustment, I can't think of a use for it, honestly. The only use I can think of for this is if you're doing work on joints. So if you're doing a dovetail or something like that, and you want to move the width of a saw curve, in which case you really want something that's a bit finer adjustment than this, because this doesn't have any measurements or gradings on it. You just turn it half a turn and it moves a bit. So you really want something that moves an exact amount for a known amount of movement, and this is not that. Secondly, I'm not. Yes, I mean I did say in the previous video you can leave it. You can leave this one pushed down, and you can still push the blade up and down a little bit slowly like this. I'm not sure if that's intentional. That's how I originally interpreted the fine adjustment to work. I don't think it's actually a good idea to do that because it's going to put a lot of wear onto that nylon nut. I just don't like the fact that the nylon nut there. It just feels like it's the wrong way to get tension. You can use a flathead screwdriver to tighten the nylon nut up, but it's not even a through cut, so you can't it's not like that. You really need a very fine screwdriver to do that. My fine screwdriver's fallen on the floor. So that's the TayTools Wheel Marking Gauge. It is a great value for money tool, but I would frankly spend the money and get something that's got a bit more reputation behind it. Still, it's a good effort. And I don't feel the need to buy another marking gauge. Given I've got this one, I just need to remember to really, really tighten these nuts. So that's all I have for this week. Hopefully that will set the record straight on that one, and see you again next week for more shed action. Ta-ta!